All right. Obviously, we aren't going to be able to find that arc directly. I mean, that's pretty clear. We're going to have to figure out what x is, find out the other two arcs, and then work at it from there. But what's my equation going to be to find this arc? Since this vertex is outside the circle, exterior angle, what am I going to do with the two arcs? Subtract and divide by 2, right? So 40 equals 7x minus 3x times 1/2, or divided by 2, either way. Multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the 1/2, so 80 is 7x minus 3x, so 80 is 4x, x is 20. That's pretty simple. That's not bad at all. So if x is 20, this arc is 60, and this arc is 140. That's 200 degrees. How many are left for the rest of the circle? 160. Really not that bad. But we did have to know our formula. And that's really what a lot of this is going to come down to is, can you select and use the correct formula for any given situation in a problem? Can you identify which formula is the right formula to use at any given time? That's going to be the big trick on this benchmark tomorrow, I3. And by the way, after tomorrow, we are all caught up with the other classes again. Yay, we got behind by a couple days and we got caught up. So, happy us. Happy us. And our goal right now is to finish Unit I before spring break. So we have I3 on Wednesday. We've got a couple sections. We do I4 pretty quickly, and we even have a couple review days before the actual Unit I test. So remember that in our schedule that we've got our last new material, I believe, is on Friday. Our quiz, our I4 is scheduled for Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday are both scheduled to be reviewed next week, and then Friday is the actual Chapter I test or Unit I test. If you're leaving early for spring break, be sure you give me that green slip. I will have that test ready to go early. And you will know everything you need to know for that Unit I test as of Friday. We'll have covered everything that's going to be on there. So even if you're leaving like on Wednesday, we could get that to you before you go. So it shouldn't be a big deal. Is anyone leaving before Wednesday next week? Going on a long vacation, 2-week break? Anyone wish they were leaving before? Okay, me too. All right. Any other questions from the homework? Yes. You're leaving Friday? Yeah, you'll be ready on Thursday. You'll even get a review day in before that, so you'll be good to go. Yeah, I have to. I don't have all that printed off yet, but I've got it all created. I just have to print it off. Yes. Well, no, I want to review on the Smartboard first so we can talk about what. I know you just want to get your homework done quick, but we'll go through it. I'll try to go through it quickly, okay? Okay. Okay, here's a circle. Center is at A. I want to find some information about this. And so I start with angle BAC. Now, I'm told, and this is a little bit small. No, it's not going to come out. Okay. But this says that the arc here is 70, and this arc is 100. Now, what type of angles do we have here? Central angles. How do we know that? Because the vertex is at the center. It's not that tough. Okay. And what's the relationship between a central angle and the measure of the corresponding arc? Equal. It's the easiest one out there because it's exactly the same. So measure of angle BAC is obviously 70 degrees. Measure of angle BAD, we're going to have to add 170. Measure of arc BED, 190. Because 170 uses 170, how much is left? 190. Okay? Everybody good with that? Central angles, easy. don't screw those up. I get so many people on this quiz who will go, oh, 70, that must be 35. They do the inscribed instead of the central. Don't make it harder. Just remember, central angles are nice and easy. More central angles. Given circle with center X, XR bisects angle QXS. So XR bisects angle QXS, which means these two angles must be congruent. Find the value of N. Okay? Goodness, that's going to take a little bit of work, but we can do that. If this is the center of the circle and this is 80 degrees right here, how many degrees are left for this whole angle right here? 100, they're 50 each, right? All right, so we figured that out. So what's my equation going to be? Yeah, 2n plus 10 equals 50. And that's going to be easy. Yeah, most of you probably knew that before we even started writing things down. So, again, solve the puzzle sometimes is what we have to do first. I can't just go, I can imagine right now if I put this on the test tomorrow, there'd be people who just said 2n plus 10 equals 80. Because those are two numbers that are put down, so I'm just going to take whatever two numbers I see in front of me and slam them into an equation. That just doesn't work anymore. Okay? That strategy just sometimes, yeah, but you have to take the time to kind of analyze the situation and puzzle out what's going on to see if you have to figure something else out first. Don't just take whatever numbers are thrown in front of you and assume those are the ones that are going to give you your final answer. All right, well, now here my vertex is on the circle, making this what type of an angle? Inscribed, what's the relationship between the angle and the arc? Half, okay? So 3x plus 70 has to equal what? 80. Double that, right? I mean, I could do 40 equals 1/2 of 3x plus 70 also. But that's going to give me fractions that I don't want to deal with. So this is nicer. 3x equals 10, so x is 10/3. And that's all I need. Not really pretty, but the fraction is at the very end, so it's not difficult. Like I said, the other way we could have done this, I could have said 1/2 of 3x minus 70 equals 40. And I get 3/2 x minus 35 equals 40. So 3/2 x equals, I'm sorry, it's plus 70? Plus. 3/2 x equals 5. And I'd have to take x equals 5 times 2/3, which is 10/3. I think that's a little harder just because of all the fractions you have to work with. Here the fraction only comes out at the very end. But both ways work. We get the same answer. And again, as you're doing these problems, just like in the last unit, always show your setup. Whichever way you choose to go, show your setup. Because if you make a mistake in the algebra, at least if I know you've set it up right, you've set yourself up some decent partial credit. And it's real easy to accidentally do plus 70, get 3x equals 150 and x equals 50. Okay, that could happen. We can see that happening very easily. But if that was your mistake, I'd still give you 2 out of 3 points, no problem. Because that's a minor mistake. You've got the majority of it correct. You just made a boo-boo on the adding and subtracting bit. It happens. I want to give you that partial credit, but I can't do it if you don't help me out by showing the work. Find the value of x. Again, can't just run to x is half of 64 or 32. We're done. Can I? No. What is 32? This angle is 32. And these two angles have to add up to? 90. So 90 minus 32 is 58 degrees. How else could I have done this? The other way I could have done this is said, hey, this is a right angle, so that this whole thing has to be 180. Well, 180 minus 64 is 116. Half of 116 is 58. Could have gone that way too. Right? And with that being a right angle, what would happen if I drew in, this is completely unrelated, what would happen if I drew in that segment connecting the two endpoints of that? What would that segment be? How is that segment special? Well, it's a right angle here, so this is half the circle, and this is the other half the circle, so this must be a diameter of the circle, isn't it? That must be a diameter. Yay. Okay, that's really not on the test, but it's kind of taken, I like to show you little things that kind of take things to the next level. Here's an inscribed quadrilateral. We know the opposite angles of an inscribed quadrilateral have to add up to what? 180. Are they going to be congruent? No. Clearly, this is obtuse, this is acute, not congruent. X is going to be 80, and Y is going to be 105. Okay? Little common sense goes a long way here, doesn't it? If we just look at it and think about it, we can usually come up with the right answer. Now we've got a little bit of algebra to do, but that's okay. Again, another one of these problems, we got to kind of work our way towards it. Where's the vertex? On the circle. So the angle is half the arc. So what's this angle going to be? The arc is 220. What's the angle going to be? 110. And if this arc is 110, what's this arc have to be? There's my equation. 3x plus 40 equals 70, so 3x equals 30, so x is 10. So again, just like we were doing it before. Is there another way we could have done this? Absolutely. I could have said, hey, this arc's 220, so that means the remaining arc of the circle has to be 140. If this arc is 140, it means the angle is 70. Aha, there's the exact same equation again, isn't it? More than one way to get to the equation. So we aren't just stuck with one method. Here, a lot of times we have more than one way of getting there. That's nice for you. But you got to remember, I don't just, and again, this is exactly the type of problem. I bet if I put this on a test, I get people do 3x plus 40 equals 220 if they're not thinking about it. Those aren't related. You have to work your way to it. Okay, where's the vertex this time? Inside, but not at the center. So when it's inside, but not at the center, my formula to measure the angle is 1/2 arc 1 plus arc 2. Right? That's our formula. So in this case, I know both arcs. I don't know the measure of the angle. X is 1/2 80 plus 20, and that's pretty easy. 50. Okay? So not bad. This time my X is not one of those, but that's okay. I can still use the formula. Now, the other formula we can use here, we could go ahead and use the angle equals 1/2 arc 1 plus arc 2. That'll work. It's going to be a little bit extra work. We can plug that in there. Or we could just remember that angle plus angle equals arc plus arc. Okay, angle 1 and angle 2 is arc 1 plus arc 2. And if this angle is 130, then this angle is 130. So 130 plus 130 equals 90 plus x. Well, that's not bad. If I did it this way, I'd say 130 equals 1/2 90 plus x. I'd multiply both sides by 2, and I'd wind up with the exact same equation, wouldn't I? So 6 of one, half dozen of the other, as far as how you choose to do it. Isn't that wonderful? So many things here. You have multiple ways of getting it done. But it does come down, you have to know your formula. Okay, now the angle is outside the circle, so my formula is the measure of the angle is 1/2 the difference of the arcs. Got to be bigger minus smaller. This one I know both arcs, so it's 1/2 80 minus 50. 80 minus 50 is 30. Half of 30 is 15. And again, that's a pretty easy one because we just have to plug it in the formula, straight up numbers, stuff like that. A little bit more difficult one. I'm only given one arc. I don't know the other arc. But I know the two arcs together because their two tangents have to add up to what? 360. So this must be 360 minus how much? N. So again, my formula, 50 is 1/2 of 360 minus N minus N. So big arc minus small arc. We have to combine those ends. Multiply by 2 also, I get 100. Sorry. 360 minus 2n. Subtract 360. Negative 260 equals negative 2n. So n is 130. So this arc is 130. This arc would be 360 minus 130 or 230. We found both arcs. Really only need to find the one. So again, we have those two tangents. One is x, one is 360 minus x. Definitely a next level problem. That's really all there is on this quiz. We just keep reusing those same 4 facts, which you have in that chart that we wrote down yesterday. Excuse me. You feel comfortable with this stuff for the most part? Yeah. I mean, again, there's no substitute for knowing those formulas. You have to know which formula to use when. That's going to be the hardest part about this for you, is making sure you use the correct formula at the correct time. But if you take your time and think through it, I think you'll be just fine on this quiz. Because I think you know these things. I think you can do the algebra portion of it. And if not, always show your work so that if you make an algebra mistake, at least your setup is correct and you get points for that. All right? All right, let's pass out the worksheets.